Former Republican David Jolly, Republican Representative David Jolly, he had an interesting take on identity politics, but we're not talking about the identity politics that's usually spoken about on the Republicans against Democrats. I want you to listen to the framing here, and then let's take it on the other side.
And the third is their addiction to identity politics, their refusal to call white supremacists, and their refusal to describe domestic terror threats as terror threats.
Yeah, Nicole, I would say beyond identity politics, politics of race and race baiting. I mean, this goes back decades to some old tried and true tricks of the Republican Party to create fear around race for largely white suburban voters. If Republicans were serious about doing something about violence in the United States today, instead of approaching restrictions on the right to assembly and the right to speech, they would be approaching issues around access to firearms. Because parents are more worried today about sending their kids to a white suburban high school than they are letting their kids participate in a Black Lives Matter protest. That's the reality of where we are in the country today. And yet Republicans are trying to define this around issues of protest and assembly and largely around racial overtones to each of those freedoms of expression. Look, these are moments where a lot of people look to our politics and say, I don't see the answers there. I know Democrats are fighting very hard on the side of social justice, and they should be. And I think the vast majority of the American people are with them today. But when we see the exchanges and the debates break down to what we're seeing in Congress today, there's a lot of faith lost. And first and foremost in the Republican Party, but then to a greater audience, people who just want government to solve our problems and not to lie to us multiple times over issues that are of greatest import to where voters are today.
Now, is that could that excoriation of what Republicanism today represent, could it be any worse? I mean, he hits the nail on the head that a suburban parent would rather have their kids go to a Black Lives Matter protest, says it all. But it's true, it's safer to go to a Black Lives Matter protest based on the stats than many times to go to some of these suburban schools in a society where we have laissez-faire gun laws. And here in Texas, we've just passed a law that said anybody can get a gun once they're over, I think it's 18 or 21, I don't remember which one. But you don't need to have a license. You don't need to have practice. You don't need to learn how to use it. And you want to know what's happening to the country? We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.